Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Think Clinical podcast. My name is Hamza. It's always good to be here, and it's an amazing day. And today we'll be talking about some very important topics around planning, and just most specifically on operational planning. We will be looking at how you can set up your operational plan, what needs to go into it, what you need to understand about operational planning, what that can do for you as a business. And then once we get that done, we will go further into some best practices that you can adopt operationally, and then look at some challenges in the process. But right now we are going to be looking at operational planning. And when we look at planning in general for a healthcare organization or for a business, there are different levels of planning, and a lot of the time the big picture planning is the strategic plan. So the strategic plan is long term. I'll talk through those differences soon, but when you talk about planning, you talk about strategic plan, you talk about an operational plan, then you budget, right? And we already spoke about budgeting in one of my other videos, so I'm not going to go too deep into that, but I will give you a background on how to differentiate between strategic plan and operational plan. What is the difference between those two? So basically, the operational plan is just a process of translating your strategic plan into like a 1-year objective, like a 1-year plan, right? But what does a strategic plan really mean? Now, when we look at this in the context of 3 things, which is going to be on the planning horizon, or on the people that are actively involved, or the participants of that planning process, as well as the objectives, you will notice that as far as the horizon is concerned, as far as the planning horizon is concerned, strategic plans are usually for a period of 3 to 10 years, and so these are long-term plans, these are long-term objectives. Operational plans, on the other hand, are mostly for just a year, so you're looking at how you are going to be running the company or running things over the next year. That's what it means. When we look at this in terms of the principal participants, strategic plans are, because of the big picture look of strategic plans, it usually comes from the executive committee level, higher level, the board. They define the goal, the mission, the vision of the organization. This is big picture stuff. Operational planning goes down to the departments, takes into account a lot of departmental inputs on how things are going to look like, and that feed into the big picture, which is the strategic plan. The third one is just the objectives of each of them. And strategic plans, as I said, they spell out the primary objectives of the company. So it's a big picture objective that covers everybody in the company. Everybody shares that strategic plan, everybody buys into that strategic plan, unlike the operational plan, which is more departmental. So it talks about secondary objectives, and it focuses on different departments or different fields and how they are going to be able to do what they need to do to feed into the bigger picture. Okay, so now that we have a good understanding of it, it's important to understand that if, as a healthcare organization, just putting together an operational plan alone has proven to improve patient satisfaction scores by 15%. And the big part of it for you as a business is that it's proven very strongly to reduce operational costs by about 10%. What does this mean for you? It's a win-win on both ends. You are going to be spending less running your operations because you have a good plan to it, and because you have a plan, you're also going to be providing a service that is very satisfactory to your patients. So you win on both ends. Now, it's easy to talk about these things and just mention them up in the air. It's important to understand how to approach and get these properly planned out and properly done at every point. Now, one of the big things that we need to look at is, what steps do I need to go through? If you've never done an operational plan before, what do you need to go through to be able to do a very good operational plan? And if we look at this, the most obvious place to start is to evaluate objectively where you are at the moment, your current state. What have you been able to do? What do you have in place? What don't you have in place? What that means is that you have to do some form of a SWOT analysis, and in subsequent videos I will walk you through how to do a proper SWOT analysis. SWOT is SWOT, which is just abbreviations again for your strengths, your weaknesses, the opportunities that you have, and then the threats, whether in or outside of the organization. So you need to be able to look at what you're strong in, what are your strengths. You need to evaluate what your weaknesses are. You need to look at the areas of opportunities. Where can you take advantage of the situation? And you need to do a whole complete evaluation of your company again. Now, once that is done, the next step of this is now to define your strategic objectives. So basically, once you know where to stand, now you are in a position to really determine where you want to go, and that is where you now come up with your strategic objectives. Now, this means that you are going to be looking at very clear, measurable objectives, and these objectives mostly should align with the big picture, with your company goals, with your company objectives, the big picture stuff, your company mission, your vision. It should feed into that. So once you are setting up those goals, they should feed into the big picture. Now you have to set up your operational processes. That's the third stage. When you set your objectives, you need to set those operational processes. And a lot of the time, for instance, one of the things that you can look at is like an electronic health record system, because this has proven to increase clinical productivity by about 6%. So processes like that, things you need to think about, stuff like that. So first, look at where you are. If you get to know and you evaluate objectively where you are, set your objectives, your operational objectives, and they should be measurable. Basically, they should meet the SMART criteria. Thirdly, you need to set up your operational processes, and then now you need to allocate resources. That's the fourth stage. So once now you have to look at where you are going to allocate these resources to be able to get the full value of what you want. And then we move on to the last stage, where it's just implementation. I mean, beyond implementation, you need to keep doing continuous improvement, continuous evaluation, but basically you implement. So know where you are, set your objectives, set your processes right, allocate your resources, and then you implement. Once you implement, the rest of it is more of self-improvement, looking at what you've done wrong, what can be improved upon, what is not going well, how that can be changed in the process. Okay, now there are a couple of best practices once you have this operational plan going. And the first and foremost one I always tell everybody is that you should run your operational plan based on evidence, based on metrics. Make sure that you have key performance indicators that you are looking at, and let those key performance indicators inform any modifications or any inputs that you make with your operational plan. That's the first thing. That is very important. Now, second is looking at lean healthcare or lean management, where you are now looking at ways to be more efficient and you're eliminating waste. You are making sure that you are properly using your resources. And as I said, the fourth stage is allocating your resources. You are properly allocating resources so that you don't have waste and you have a lot of efficiency. Okay. Beyond all this, we all know that whatever we do operationally has to meet the needs of the patient, have to meet the expectations of a patient, or probably even exceed them. So all your operational planning best practice is that they should be patient-centered. Make sure that they actually speak the language the patient understands, which is in terms of meeting or exceeding their expectations. The last bit I'll say is just integrating technology. Learn how to use technology in your operational process. I've already spoken about EHRs, telemedicine services. Learn how to use this. Now AI is becoming a big deal, and in the next 10 to 15 years, AI is going to take up a lot of jobs. It's going to take up a lot of roles in healthcare. It's going to make processes way more efficient and way more easier. So learn how to integrate some of these things into the whole setup that you have. I mean, the last thing I want to quickly touch on before we end today's episode is just on challenges. So you need to look at what there are going to be challenges when you start putting in operational plans, and one of the big ones is just resistance to change. You're going to have employees who are not ready to change. They don't want to. They are going to, and I mean, one of the values and core values that you should incorporate in your organization should be the value of continuous improvement. So that's the only way you can overcome that resistance to change. And the other thing is just staying up to date with regulations. It's a big challenge in the healthcare institution. Regulations come up, and sometimes you know, sometimes you don't. They cost money to implement. They will throw your operational plan into chaos sometimes, but those are some challenges you're going to face. But once you consistently stay on top of some of these things, you shouldn't have any problem. So again, operational planning is just you translating your strategic plan into a year's objective. So make sure that you have a good strategic plan first, which is your long-term plan over a 3 to 10 year period. And then based on that strategic plan, now you draw an operational plan, which now looks at translating that strategic plan into a year's objective. And then once you have a good operational plan, make sure that it is systematically built out based on where objectively you are, from probably SWOT analysis, what your objectives are, looking at your operational processes that you're going to put in place, allocating resources to it, and making sure that you implement very well. This has been another very exciting episode for me. I love talking about stuff like this, and I appreciate all the support you've given this channel. Remember to subscribe, like, and share as always. We appreciate you, and have a good one.